The 8 stages of COVID as I experienced it. Now, everybody has a different story. Some people say, oh, I had COVID, but it was just like I had a cold for the day. And to those people, we say, some people, like, it's dreadful and absolutely ghastly, and most of us are in the spectrum somewhere in between, but these were my 8 stages. So stage 1, all of us who have had that dreaded double line, especially if you've managed to get away a year or two without having it, the day you take that test and the double line appears, it's like, oh no. And then, of course, stage 2 is when you just, poor little soldier, you just have to kind of suffer through. Then stage 3 is an awesome stage. At stage 3, the food angels visit. As soon as the word has spread that you are smit, people think to themselves, the army springs into action. We have to leave them food. So people drop off food left, right, and center to the point where we actually had to start saying to people, don't give us any more food. I sent pictures to people of our fridge, which was like bulging. So the amount of food that arrives from the well-wishers of the world is kind of glorious. And then at stage 4, you realize things are really bad when the cats start to give you sympathy, because, cats are wonderfully thran, kind of dismissive individuals. Usually they just kind of look at you and kind of... But when the cats start, are you okay? Do you need some extra snuggles, a few more cuddles? Then you know that things are really bad. So you spend a few days just enjoying some very unusual cat cuddles. And then you start to feel a little bit better. Stage 5 is, I feel like I'm able to watch a movie. In the early days, you can't concentrate on anything, but you can just about get up and watch a movie, but only if that movie has all of the plot complexity and emotional realism and deep meaning of a Bond movie. Preferably the Bond movie where the car turns into a submarine. That's kind of like the level that you're at when you feel ready to watch your first movie. Then you get to the point where you are getting up and getting dressed and moving around, but you're still so just pathetic that if you realize, so I had realized I had left my jumper upstairs, and it was like, so that's the level of energy is so bad. It's like, I can't go upstairs. And even when you do summon up the energy to go up the stairs, you have to kind of make that noise as you climb each step, as you go up oh dear, it's all very pathetic. But then things start to look up. The first outing, when you finally have had a clear test and can go out, so drive through McDonald's. What better way to celebrate being back out in human contact? Oh my goodness, that was a good day. And then finally, stage 8. After all of the days of the double line, when you get 2 consecutive days of clear tests, you are free at last. So those were my 8 stages of COVID, and maybe those ring a few little bells for the rest of you who have suffered through it as well. I just thought I would quickly, while obviously this topic is very much uppermost in my mind, just quickly to say that while we are gathered here, we are still keeping as safe as we possibly can. If you check the Belvoir Parish website, there's a whole list of the ways that we're trying to make sure that we are as safe as possible. We still ask you to sanitize your hands on arrival. We have an area of the church with spaced out seating. Now, this always makes me smile. That area is you guys at the back. You still have the cushions where everything is all spaced out. Theoretically, but of course, everyone have a little look around. Which is the area of church which is least spaced out? So yeah, so the cushions can be spaced out all we want at the back of church, but the back of church is where everyone wants to be. So if you want to come along and be absolutely sure that you have like a 5-meter radius all around you, front pew is the way to go. But we are still, as much as possible, trying to keep spaced out seating. We've got the windows open and trying to make sure we've got as much ventilation as possible. And this is really cool. You might not know this because all of us didn't know this until recently. Do you know that we actually are ventilated? There's a fan running at all times in Belvoir. We only found out about this recently. Can you see behind Gary the drummer? Can you see this switch, the magical switch? Does that? Oh, that switch switches on a ventilation fan. And can you see, if you look up at the back above the cross, can you see the huge, big black ventilation? So the air in the church is constantly being refreshed and changed. Anytime that switch is on and the light is on, we are being well ventilated. So windows, ventilation fans, spacing, seating, going outside for our coffee. We are still absolutely trying to do this right so that we feel as safe as possible as we gather together to worship.